Hello, everybody, and welcome to Action and Adventure, the Hasbro Universe podcast. I'm your host, Daniel.
And I am your other host, Callum.
And today we have a great show for you guys. Busy week. We're actually recording this a week early from our usual recording time because there's nothing coming out next week. But IDW was like, that'll be fine because we have, 6 books coming out?
Yeah. It really shouldn't be the case with the number of books that we're covering, that there should be a week where 6 get released and a week where none get released. But that's IDW shipping for you.
Yeah. We roll with it, people. It's weird. But yeah, so today we'll be covering Jem and the Holograms Infinite number 3, the 5th part and the penultimate episode of the Jem Infinite crossover. We'll be discussing First Strike number 4. We are now over halfway through the First Strike event. We'll be discussing Micronauts First Strike tie-in, Rom number 13, Rom vs. Transformers Shining Armor number 3, and finally, Revolutionaries number 8, the final issue of Revolutionaries, which will be bringing our favorite series, unfortunately, to a close. So we'll also be sort of doing a look back on Revolutionaries. So yes, unfortunately we don't have any news to discuss. So let's just jump in with Jem Infinite number 3. Callum, What are your thoughts?
Oh yeah, no, it's I was kind of wondering after technically not the last issue of this series, the last installment of the crossover, how these last 2 issues would end up being paced, because it felt like I don't know, it wasn't like paced bad, but just like the main core plot of this crossover didn't feel like had been fully laid out until about part 3. But this has gone along nicely and set us up for a big conclusion in Misfits. And I am irritated that my guess for who was in the secret cupboard was basically the exact opposite of what it actually turned out to be.
I mean, that's I was with you. I was like, oh, it's the Holograms, or it's Jerrica. But no, it was Pizzazz who was secretly behind Gem World. And that definitely threw me. Like, when I got to that page, I was like, wait, what? Especially because this is our Pizzazz, the main universe Pizzazz, is disgusted at Gem World, and I think this is what's going to leave us off. Not just the whole if Pizzazz reveals the secret, then the whole dystopia will happen. I think it'll also be one of those things where Pizzazz sort of gets hey, in an alternate universe, I became a total corrupt dictator that killed my friends. I think that's going to be interesting to see when Pizzazz alternate universe Pizzazz steps out of the shadows. I think that's going to be really interesting to see how main universe Pizzazz reacts to that. Yeah,
and it makes it feel more fitting, I suppose. The final installment of this is going to be a Misfits issue technically, because I assume what we are heading towards is a sort of Pizzazz versus Pizzazz showdown. Yeah. But this issue I liked how the plot moved along in this issue with they're all sneaking in to this big Jem and the Holograms fake concert that is being set up, and just their idea of disguise is just they're wearing boiler suits, but just otherwise they are still incredibly recognizable as being the Holograms and the Misfits.
Well, pink, bright pink boiler suits too.
Well, I mean, I assume that's what everyone's boiler suits are like here. but yeah, it's just they're not fooling anyone.
Yeah, I mean, they don't even have helmets on. Come on,
I do really like that silica has been brought back for this. I was not expecting when this crossover started to have silica in it. So yeah, it's cool that she's here.
Now, again, I'm not super familiar with the Jem books yet. She and Synergy merged into Did I read that right, or did I, like...
Oh, in this issue?
Yeah, in this issue, like, Silica and Synergy, like, merged into, like, a single thing? Or...
Well, yeah, kind of, the idea, I guess, is that, yeah, kind of, that JemCorp has sort of screwed around with sort of Synergy's code, but they didn't kind of touch, they didn't touch Silica because they didn't know about Silica, and so by merging into one, they can, yeah, sort of wrest free of JemCorp's control.
Okay, I wasn't sure if, like, that was like a callback to something that happened in the main series or not, so...
But, well, yeah, kind of, I guess the key thing is that, yeah, Silica is kind of a weird sort of glitch slash kind of subroutine slash something that's sort of part of Synergy, kind of, that was buried down inside her. It wasn't like a virus that came from somewhere. It was sort of, yeah, it was a little sort of glitchy sort of alternate thing that was part of Synergy. And,
okay.
It's kind of like opened up and merged with Synergy proper now.
Yeah. I also really liked the meeting with between the reunion of Emmett and Kimber and Stormer.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like that was the heartstrings just it got you. Let's see, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. And I also really liked Jerrica having to, like, kind of, you know, do her whole thing, like go out on her stages herself and then do the whole transformation and all that. That was a really cool moment. Probably has a lot more impact if you're someone like you who's read the entire thing, but like even for me it was like, yeah, you go, Jerrica.
Yeah, no, she gets a very nice speech, doesn't she?
Yeah.
And actually, I was going to say, and flicking back through this issue, well, I'd read it on my phone before, but yeah, flicking back through it, kind of in full pages on my laptop, there's sort of a very nice use of double-page spreads in this issue.
Oh yeah, very, very good. Although I will say this, it did seem like I expected there to be a little bit more after the speech, but the fact that the speech was the end kind of was like, oh, so we're already? But, it's not, that's not,
yeah.
I don't know, I was just, like, expecting an extra page or something, I don't know, just, yeah. But, that's not, like, a bad thing, it wasn't, like, a bad, yeah, so, Jem, Infinite number 3, solid, we're heading towards the finale, solid book, I will get caught up eventually.
Yeah, because how have you read this issue? Paper or digital?
Digital, yeah.
Okay, so in which case, did you see the preview for the final part at the end?
I might not have read that, because like I said, I just read it this morning.
Oh, yeah.
So I might have just skipped that.
Yeah. But yeah, no, there was a 5-page preview for the final part at the end of it, which I don't think we've even had the iTunes preview for that, so yeah, I think that is our first look at it. And just, I also want to comment about slightly, because, I don't know if you noticed, but, like, have you noticed Kimber's outfit for the concert? Like, gosh, Kimber.
Which Kimber?
Kimber? Like, our Kimber.
Oh, okay, main Kimber. Okay, I'm going back through right now.
And she has got a mesh shirt with like nipple pasties. Like, what? And the Misfits preview made me think of that, because in the Misfits preview she still has the mesh shirt but with something more substantial underneath. I did like Jem's new outfit on the final page though, with the big sort of central star makeup, which like it's kind of weird but also kind of works. I like it.
Oh yeah, it's a really good outfit. It's very it's a lot different from her usual thing, but it's still like really good. I like the stars sort of forming along the line, like the line of her dress.
Oh yeah,
I think that's really cool. So. Matches her earrings, yeah. But yeah, so I think that's everything for Jem.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how this all pans out. It's been a good ride.
So let us move on to First Strike number 4. So we are just... This crossover seems like it's going by, like, real fast. Like, am I the only one who thinks that?
Yeah, no, they have been coming out at a decent pace, these kind of main series issues. It is it ought to be bi-weekly, given the every 2 weeks, considering it's double shipping. And I think it pretty much has been hitting that, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been, like, perfectly on time. I don't know if it's a combination of the schedule slips for the other books, or maybe it's just the fact that the tie-ins haven't, like, come out yet, except for one. But it's like, it just seems like this is going real fast, you know. Which I guess is good, you know, in this world of event fatigue that a lot of readers are experiencing. I guess it's a good thing that a crossover is moving by very fast and allowing us to go ahead and get it done with. But First Strike has been a thoroughly enjoyable event. I'm actually kind of disappointed that it's going by so fast.
It's done very well, hasn't it?
Yeah. This issue, we really get to see more of the humans and Cybertronian interactions, especially for characters that don't tend to interact a whole lot. Like, I was thinking about this earlier, and it's something I realized is Windblade is a character who is, like, her sole interactions with humans was during Revolution. And now we have, like, the whole cast of Till 1, as well as, like, Optimus Prime. And they're, like, the interactions between, like, Ielita 1 and Scarlet, and, just the other counselors was really great to see. And I really like how it's sort of addressing, like, the fact that the Cybertronians don't really see the humans as much of a threat. They kind of are just, like, wave them off, and it's like, what can these small organics really do? And that is the weakness that Colton exploits and allows them to really take them down. And there's that great scene at the end where Windblade is like, oh man, Scarlet was right, and is like, just has that realization of, oh, maybe I should have listened to Optimus. That was, like, that's the thing. This issue gets us a lot of characterization for a lot of different characters, and I really like that.
Yeah, kind of. First Strike has definitely sort of delivered on the promise we were given, when Scott was doing interviews about this early on. That this will be more of a kind of a character-driven crossover event, and it definitely has been It's been all about kind of, like, the plot is pretty simple. It is Joe Colton has launched an attack on Cybertron. There's a diversion so that him and his guys can go down underground and kill everyone. And so it's been kind of character stuff that has been sort of the driving force in the issues, compared to just sort of like plot kind of ticking over almost. And it's really nice to have an event that's like that.
Yeah. Let's see, I'm trying to think. Like, most of the best things about this issue, like, the villains were definitely the highlight of issue 3. We don't get as much of them in this issue, but that's because we get more focus on the heroes. And really getting to see, like, Optimus Prime interact with the Till 1 cast in a more, like, substantial way. Like, that's the thing. Like, one of the things we said at this, like, when the event was first starting, one of the things I said I was really excited to see was the interactions between Optimus and Ielita 1 in IDW, because this version of Ielita 1 is very different compared to, like, every other version of Ielita that we've seen. So getting to see her and, sort of back and forth with Optimus is, and what's that line? It's like, we don't serve primes, I'm Cursarian, and we imprison primes, not worship them. It's like, oh, this Ielita is so good. It's just such a good character, and I really like seeing the interactions. And also, like, the reflection of Optimus on sort of how, I tend to think, how leadership has gone, how he admits that at times, leadership can kind of go to his head almost, and where he says, like, where, I tend to think people will listen to me because, during the war, I was Optimus Prime. But these are people that weren't around for, all that, like people like Tigatron, Airraiser, Knockout, Ielita, and, of course, just Starscream, who, A, kind of has always disliked Optimus Prime, and B, it's like, and I really liked that character, that character for Optimus Prime. It's really good. It's interesting stuff we don't really get to see normally with these characters. Really like.
Yeah, no, it's nice having some sort of introspective Optimus, because he literally has his own series at the minute, and it is looking at how Optimus Prime, the Optimus Prime book has not at all been saying that yes, or everything Optimus has been doing is a good and sensible idea and the best way to be doing things, but we haven't really got sort of like as explicit a sort of bit of sort of Optimus Prime talking aloud about how it is for him trying to be a leader in this kind of current peacetime era. And so it's nice that we've got that, and it's a nice sort of pairing up of him with Scarlet, who's another kind of team leader almost.
Yeah.
The conversation with Optimus and Scarlet that's got to be kind of the highlight of this issue, I'd say, certainly.
Oh, definitely. And that story she tells, definitely, especially because then, Scott, said this on Twitter, that conversation was inspired by an actual experience that her brother observed in the military, and it's this stuff happens, people just don't think you're good enough. I mean, and especially Scarlet, a woman in the military, having that experience. I will say this, her whole description of G.I. Joe was as something Colton made of a unit in the military that recruited anyone who washed out at 48 push-ups. That's kind of in contrast to everything we've seen of the Joes in IDW. Because Colton didn't start them, which is something I've expressed before, is I don't get this, the way they're sort of soft retconning Colton to be the guy who started G.I. Joe, and that doesn't fit with the past history and all that. But also
they alluded to sort of Hawk having kind of superiors, and I guess it's a soft retcon in that sort of they're just giving Colton a bit more kind of an active role rather than just Hawk probably reported to him.
Yeah, rather than just he shows up in Volume 3 and all that, but it's still, it was one of those things where weren't the Joes supposed to be the best of the best back at the beginning? I've only read a few Joe stuff, but they're usually always said to be the best of the best, so that doesn't really line up. But it's whatever.
It's sort of, I guess, the idea kind of being presented here is that they're kind of the people who were sort of good enough, but kind of who were kind of that good, but not kind of in quite the right way, or sort of annoyed. Didn't kind of cozy up to quite the right people. But it's definitely in contrast to how kind of IDW G.I. Joe has been presented before. And
I mean, it's not a bad idea. I actually really like the idea of G.I. Joe being made up of misfit soldiers. I mean, especially would explain sort of how everyone gets to kind of have their own look and their own stuff going on and all that. But still, it's just a little jarring, I guess. Especially as someone who's going back and reading all. I keep saying rereading, but it's I'm reading it for the first time, so I don't know why I'm doing that. Who's going back and reading all the Joe stuff. So, by the way, still haven't started on Fall of G.I. Joe, but I will do it. I'll probably do it after this podcast and just be
I feel so sorry for you. It's just.
I know.
It's just a slog more than anything else.
I have to.
kind of big kind of it's half a page worth of panel of kind of a big GI Joe group shot. That's lovely. Like just again
really
to comment
is.
on the art, kind of the art continuing to be very good in First Strike, and I do love that kind of big team shot.
See, that's the thing. Max Dunbar is like really good. There are times where I feel like his Transformers can look a little off, like especially his Optimus for whatever reason. The head just looks a little off to me at times, but like he's definitely like one of the best artists I've seen drawing both Transformers and humans. Like he's definitely one of the better ones. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, and you go.
I would say but just kind of towards the end of this issue though, I'm worried now for Sunstreaker. Like, is he going to make it out of this crossover event?
Friggin' Sunstreaker. It's honestly just like humans are dicks to Sunstreaker.
It's true.
They really are. I mean, you go back to the Furman run. It was just all the shit that happened with the Machination. It's like now he's got ninjas crawling on his face and all that.
Actually, kind of that whole sequence. Actually, kind of because I know there's fans out there that sort of have been ninjas attacking the Transformers. Oh, ninjas shouldn't be able to do anything to Transformers. Oh, Transformers got to be like super invulnerable to Transformers got to be super invulnerable to any humans. But kind of the visual that they do here of kind of the idea of kind of a Transformer literally being kind of swarmed by a horde of humans. It's a really good visual. Like it's the kind of visual that a human you do with like insects swarming a human character is being done here with
the exact same thing.
Ninjas on a Transformer, and it's a really cool way of doing sort of humans attack a Transformer. It's certainly more like fun than they've got like a really good gun. But yeah.
See, I was thinking the exact same thing. It's like, stupid fanboys who can't handle the Transformers fighting humans, like, they always want to say, oh, but the humans are like insects, how can they do anything? It's like, guys, insects can do, like, terrible things to humans. Like, they can friggin' murder people, especially in swarms, which is exactly what you have here. You have a ninja swarm, basically. It's like, and also, ninjas are cool and magic, so why are we complaining about ninjas fighting Transformers, honestly? I don't get people. I mean, that's the thing. I equate it to like 1,000 like little bugs stinging at you. It's gonna hurt, and if they puncture anywhere vital, you're probably gonna die.
Well, yeah, like all the kind of scenes with Sunstreaker and the ninjas, you could redraw those panels with like a human and like scary spiders or something, and it would
exactly.
Like, it is framed as that kind of thing, and it works really well. Like, and I can't think of a time that sort of Transformers fiction has kind of done that as a thing, but it's a really good kind of visual and a way to sort of approach,
it really is,
humans attacking a Transformer.
I also really like the coloring and sort of the lighting almost of that whole scene, like with the lights coming from the Red Shadow's eyes or from Sunstreaker's gun. And the shadows and all that, it works really well. It's great. Is it Anders Zarate who was the colorist on the series?
It is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Anders Zarate is a great colorist. Like, yeah.
Yeah, no, he's kind of he's a good pair with Max Dunbar's lines, and he's gotten a chance to show off with some of these sort of darkly lit corridors here.
Yeah, and is there anything else as far as the main story goes?
No, I don't think so.
All right.
No, it's the crossover. The main miniseries for the crossover continues to be very good.
Yep. And as always, we get a backup issue or a backup story with The Origins of Evil Part 4 hitting the big time. Gee, I wonder what this could possibly be about. And of course, Shazraela. And now this was definitely necessary, especially after Wrath of Karza. Like, we needed to see how Shazraela ended up getting entangled in this whole affair, which I liked. I really liked this the interactions between her and Mayhem and Ironblood. Like, gosh, what was the line? Like, do all humans dress in such a silly manner? My dear, conquest may be our objective, but the costumes set us above the rabble. It's like, yeah. Oh, Mayhem continues to be so great. I love him.
I did love that. Just, kind of the human supervillains kind of justifying their silly costumes. Like, I like the kind of they are, these villains are wholeheartedly being treated as sort of comic book supervillains, and it's really great.
Yeah. I also dig maybe it's just because we are podcast hosts, but I sincerely adored the line, hiding inside of a computer. Seems everyone is starting a podcast these days. It's like, I actually had to like double take and be like, the comic has become self-aware, everybody run. But no, that was great. Although I would totally love to hear Shazraela like host a podcast. Like, give me that like yesterday. Like,
I'm co-hosted with Starscream. Like, just...
No, it'd be one of those things like where it's like one of those like self-help podcasts. It's like how to rule a universe. Step 1, get involved with the prince. Step 2, murder the prince. Step 3, get involved with some dupe that you can trick and manipulate. Step 4, get time traveler powers. It'd be like one of those.
Yeah, the one thing I am wondering about after this backup story, though, is that this backup story must, by kind of necessity, be set during Revolutionaries, because Wrath of Karza hadn't happened yet in Revolutionaries 2, and this is after it. So kind of this must be sort of Baron Ironblood between issues of Revolutionaries, and I just hope that kind of that fact is kind of being remembered, and that we're not going to and that kind of Origins of Evil Part 6 isn't going to be sort of looping around to the start of Revolutionaries, because that would just be kind of irritating and awkward from a continuity perspective.
Wait, do we know that Revolutionaries 2 had to take... No, it couldn't have taken... No, Revolutionaries 2 couldn't have taken place after Wrath of Karza.
It's before Wrath of Karza, that's my point, yeah.
Oh.
2 has to be before Wrath of Karza, which means that this backup story has to be after Revolutionaries 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, kind of, I hope we don't end up then having, kind of Origins of Evil Part 6 kind of leading into the start of Revolutionaries or something. But we kind of got that scene in, well, we'll talk about that in a minute, but we got a sort of looping back round to the start of Revolutionaries 1 scene in Revolutionaries 8. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, I don't necessarily think it'll loop back to the start of Revolutionaries, because I could easily see a lot of these happening during the course of Revolutionaries. Well, not okay. At least the Mayhem and this one could have happened during Revolutionaries. And even the Destro one, maybe. Depends on how long they had Iron Grenadiers.
I don't think the Miles Mayhem one can, because Sly Rax is there, which means it has to be before the first arc of Mark. Well, actually,
no, it has to.
I need to look at my big thing, but the first arc of of Mask has to happen before Revolutionaries, 4 at least, because Revolutionaries 4 is after Wrath of Karza, because of Razor Claw in that conference call,
Right.
And Wrath of Karza is set after the first arc of Mask. It's stupid that I can actually remember this off my top of my head. I've been spending too long on that big chart thing.
Hey, if you don't do that chart, who else will? Yeah. I'd say I'm trying to think. Yeah. But yeah, it's just a nice little thing that explains how Shazraela got involved in that. And I love how they, are saying, how Baron Ironblood is all like, look, I just want my planet. I couldn't care less. And it's like, and Shaz was like, oh, you're going to give me a world. And it's like, well, yeah, we're kind of planning to leave that world a ruined husk if everything goes well, but we'll give it to you. It's like, I do like that, that her greed is sort of, almost impairing her judgment a little. But we'll see if this plays out in the actual First Strike event. Yeah, which does leave the question, though, who's going to be in the next two parts? Because as far as, the shadows go, from First Strike number 0, we've got Shaz, we've got Storm Shadow, we got Mayhem, we got Destro. I assume... I guess Mindbender could be one.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, Mindbender, I assume, will get one. And then...
He's just, he's definitely, the least the least prolific of the villains. As far as post-Revolutionaries goes.
Yeah.
He's definitely the one that's appeared... Well, okay, I guess he appeared more than Destro, actually, now that I think about it.
But I assume Mindbender will get one, and then there might just be a sort of a finale one, I would guess, maybe.
Or maybe a Visionaries preview prelude thing.
Yeah.
I think that would be cool, but we'll see. Yeah.
So, shall we transition then into the other First Strike issue that was out this week, which was the Micronauts tie-in issue. Which
is
the one of
first
two
tie-in
of a two-parter. And so but yeah, it is weird that we've had 4 issues of the main series out, but then only 2 tie-ins out so far. As we're probably going to end up with half the tie-ins coming out after the main series is finished, aren't we?
Let's see. Let me check my schedule because I have all this stuff scheduled.
Oh, yeah. It's current prediction.
Actually, if everything stays on schedule, we will have Optimus Prime and Rom First Strike coming out after number 5, but before number 6, and we'll have Mask and Transformers coming out the same week as number 6. So shouldn't be too bad, so long as no major.
Yeah, that could be worse.
Could be worse. Yeah. So yeah, Micronauts First Strike. Now, I don't know... Now, this definitely didn't happen for you, but for me, I got some serious classic ROM vibes from this story. Because this story is basically the exact plot of an old issue of ROM, I want to say number 58 or so. It was in the late 50s somewhere. It was basically the same plot as an issue where ROM teamed up with Ant-Man. And I just find that hilarious.
That's weirdly appropriate.
I mean, it's kind of the same thing because the main thrust of this issue is the Micronauts are recovering from the events of Wrath of Karza, but there's also the Dire Wraiths doing a whole thing with ants and bugs and all that is going to help them take over when humans smash it and get Dire Wraith biomatter over them. That's pretty much the same plot as what happened with Dire Wraiths in the Marvel series. They infected a bunch of ants with Dire Wraith's magic, turned them into monsters, and from there it was going to start a chain reaction that infected all humans on the planet and all life on the planet. It was, and so I got some major classic Rom vibes from this. So, but yeah. But overall, this was a good tie-in, I thought.
Yeah, it was kind of. I mean, I feel like few things would. It wasn't sort of the sort of experience, quite the experience that sort of G.I. Joe First Strike was, but it was It was okay. I thought I'm thinking probably the second part will be sort of a bit more interesting once sort of the Micronauts and Rom have actually properly teamed up. This issue felt like, if I was going to say something about this issue, it felt a bit sort of set-up-y plot-wise. But it went along at a fair pace, and yeah, I'm looking forward to the second part.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, half of it is definitely sort of feels like recovery from Wrath of Karza for the Micronauts. Like, like it opens with Fenn and Croyer talking and sort of discussing what Oz's sacrifice and all that. I will say this: it did feel a little bit. I did see some major different writer syndrome from Christos Gage writing this, because it's like Biotron refers to Finn and Larissa. For some reason, I want to keep saying Livia. I don't know why. He refers to them by their toy names, like Orbital Defender and Space Glider, even though he's never done that before. And also, the Micronauts are kind of written or at least they're drawn in the first few pages way smaller than they should be. They're supposed to be 6 inches roughly.
Oh yeah,
toy size, and they're ant size. It's a little.
Yeah,
the
opening
weird.
Is very kind of Honey I Shrunk the Kids in terms of scale, isn't it?
Yeah. It's they're shorter than blades of grass. I mean, that's this is either some really tall grass or it's yeah. And if it is tall grass, then I expected Pokemon. I go into tall grass, I expect to catch a Pidgey or something.
Shot in Daisy as well. But no, yeah.
Which admittedly was a bit adorable for a Croyer.
Yeah.
Is it helping? Yeah. Yeah.
I found it interesting that kind of the Micronauts appear to have acquired a new spaceship out of nowhere.
I noticed that too. And again, it's one of those things that's, I guess it's just different writer-artist syndrome or what, but it's it was definitely didn't they say didn't they keep the Sharkos, Yeah,
I was going to say.
Maybe they didn't, but.
It happened with the Sharkos at the end of the cost, because they said they were going to try and fix it up or something, didn't they?
Yeah.
But yeah, although I do like that it is, it's based on another original Micronauts toy.
Oh, it is, really? I didn't notice that, actually.
Yeah, it is the Astro Station.
Ah, cool.
Which is why it's kind of weird, basically. It's not a very aerodynamic spaceship.
See, now I gotta look that up.
I've got it up here as looking.
Oh, okay, I see it. Yeah,
you got it?
That is not aerodynamic in the slightest.
No.
Oh.
But kind of, it's fun when they put in little kind of I still do love the fact that they had the big stupid carry case robot in the annual.
That was still brilliant. Yeah. And yeah, we get to see some Dire Wraith sorcerers working some magic. I do want to say I really liked Chris Panda is a really good artist when it came to the Dire Wraiths. I really dug he keeps them on model. It's very, very good. And I want to say Panda didn't he draw the Micronauts Revolution tie-in?
I believe he did, yes.
Yeah, so it's at least, he has experience with the characters. Although I will say this, I find it weird that Larissa is now the captain of the Micronauts, considering that she's, the newest member.
Well, technically Biotron's the newest, but yeah.
Well, Well, yeah, okay, Biotron, but like,
But I don't know. She's kind of the most responsible one, I suppose.
I guess, but I feel like I don't know. I feel like it should have gone to either, well, A, Microtron, because he was the first mate. So if we're playing by Star Trek rules, then he would take over, or Finn, because I feel like Finn has been around longer and is more. I don't know. It just struck me as odd out like. It just struck me as odd in universe that she would be the new captain.
Yeah, see, I don't know that Fenn would want to be captain. I feel like that feels like a lot of responsibility for Fenn to have.
True. And honestly, Croyer's personality just would not work. But yeah, Rom is really only in this though for the last little bit, and I think that was actually a good decision. Yeah, we have Dire Wraiths and all that as the threat, but it's like it is mostly focus, like the Micronauts are the characters that we really stick with. Although I will admit there were times where it was we're explaining things about Rom for people who haven't picked up Rom, So who knows if the Rom issue will be the same? I don't know.
Well, I mean, there was some of that with just kind of the Micronauts as well. I mean, the first few pages did make a kind of quite the point of sort of explaining what the status quo is currently for the Micronauts. Do you remember how Oz died recently? As you know.
Yeah.
But kind of that's to be expected with sort of a tie-in like this, where they kind of are obviously hoping that people who haven't been picking up the main series will pick this up. So it's fair enough.
Yeah. But yeah, Rom is just kind of chilling. He's just chilling out on the outskirts of wherever.
Yeah, it does make me wonder kind of what is going to go down in Rom 14, because he is.
We'll get to that.
Not any friends with him.
Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll see. But yeah, and this issue ends with Rom thinking that Dire Wraiths have infected the Micronauts, which is sad because, come on, you all were so good. And I like how Croyer greeted Rom. He was like, "Greetings, Rom, Knight of the Solstar Order. Are you able to understand me?" It's because they were armor bros back in Revolution. It's so we get to see the armor bros back at it again. Yeah.
Oh, actually, yeah, because Rom can... Actually, yeah, that has never really been brought up again. But yeah, Rom could speak ancient Cybertronian for some reason during Revolution, couldn't he?
And this issue actually gives an explanation for it. Because he says, "My translator deciphered your speech after our previous encounter."
Oh, actually, yeah, that's in contradiction to Revolution, then.
Huh.
Because in Revolution... Because Revolution sort of kind of established that the language the Micronauts speak is ancient Cybertronian, and then Rom could speak that for some reason and was like, "Oh, I'll explain later why I can speak ancient Cybertronian."
I mean, I feel like you could just chalk it up to the translator, honestly.
Well, I mean, I assume the explanation would be that kind of the Space Knights encountered someone who spoke ancient Cybertronian at some point. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. That's the thing. Rom was established in the very first issue to sort of have that translator built into his armor. Like when he arrives on Earth and he's, got the weird symbols and is my translators. So honestly, I could just see it as the translator, got the message, deciphered it, something like that. Didn't seem like a big deal to me. So yeah. All right, so let's continue some ROM talk with 13, issue 13. Yes, that's the one.
The penultimate.
The penultimate issue of ROM. I gotta be honest, this issue did something to piss me off.
Yeah, and I think I know what that thing is. And it confused me that it panned out in the way that it did. Because, in our opening 2 pages, we flash back to, it's 1 month after the events of the ROM annual. So it's 1 month after Alonia was attacked by the Dire Wraiths, and Rom and and the gang became Space Knights, and him and Livia are able to sort of morph their masks away. And so I think, like I said on the All Spot, didn't I, that I expect that kind of these flashbacks will continue in this issue and reveal that they can no longer do that because, I don't know, they're old, like because of age or something. But that didn't happen at all.
Let me go into why this bugs me so much. Rom's whole deal, his whole thing from the very beginning, has been his struggle between giving up his humanity to fight for the to fight the Dire Wraiths, and his longing to return to that humanity, and how it is something that he gave up. And this series took that in a new direction with the whole fact that they could not take off the armor after they had merged with it. This is in just complete contradiction to that. It's in complete contradiction to what has been established in this series, and it is in complete contradiction to the entire deal behind Rom's character and that struggle between his humanity, his lost humanity, and that's the thing. Like back in the Marvel series, his whole thing was the fact that as he continued in his war, he slowly felt himself lose more and more of his humanity, and that struggle, and that's something that haunted him. And the fact that he doesn't have a face is very central to that idea.
Yeah, kind of, Rom is the poster boy for sort of the I'm sad about being a cyborg kind of trope. And yeah, it seems incredibly weird that, yeah, it turns out he can just retract his mask and it's no big thing. Like, and it's really confusing as well because
why didn't you do that, when you landed, and say, hey, I'm gonna... Because that's the thing, having the whole, one slit in the face with glowing red eyes, yeah, that's a scary image. It would, probably help in your mission if you could just remove your face and say, hi, I'm an alien, but, like, look, I'm a normal dude, like...
Yeah, I don't get it. It does seem just, like, in addition to, like, kind of, yeah, not really being kind of in tune with kind of Rom as a character in general, it just doesn't really make sense compared to, like, previous issues of this series. Why has he not been doing this, like, all the time? When, yeah, people have been like, oh gosh, yeah, scary, like, robot man. Yeah, and, like, because they talk a bit about how kind of, apparently, the Elonians can't breathe Earth's atmosphere. But, I mean, like, yeah, that doesn't actually stop him or Livia from taking their masks off. And they don't act like, oh gosh, we've got to put our masks back on right away now that we've done this so that we'll survive. That's like, it's just weird. Really weird.
I mean, I feel like some people will say, oh, I'm getting too hung up on this, but it's like, this just comes out of nowhere and doesn't... Again, like I said, it doesn't jive with the history of the character as he's been portrayed in both this series and the Marvel series, and it doesn't jive with this character's actions in just this series alone. I don't know, it baffles me why this decision was made. Like, it's a tiny thing, I will grant you, but it really does. I really don't get it. I don't get this decision, quite frankly. I'm baffled, honestly, as to...
Yeah, I'd agree. It's just, yeah, kind of, it's confusing. There is no clear reason why this happened, and a lot of reasons why it shouldn't have happened. Like, even just with it, yeah, relating to previous issues of this same series.
Yeah.
Like, if there'd been some justification in this, like, oh gosh, right, this will kind of threaten my life, but I have to do it in order to save Livia's, and then they shut the masks immediately, and it's presented as like a big dangerous thing that he's going to try as a last resort. It's like, okay, yeah, sure. But yeah, it is just presented as, oh yeah, Rom could do this. It's just that he can do this. It's normal. It's fine. He can do this if he wants. It's like, what? What? Huh? Yeah.
Yeah. Like honestly, I wouldn't really dig that idea, but like I could at least buy it if they did explain it like that. Like it was some sort of and even the whole transferring of the life force and all that didn't. I don't know. I didn't entirely get it. It just seemed odd. God, I mean, just it just threw me, and just it was
like, yeah. I mean, the whole life force thing I can kind of see, because I think they've talked before, I think, about how kind of the kind of armor ore does sort of, like, it's that sort of sustains them somehow with, kind of energy, and that it's kind of, he's not like a cyborg, but kind of the armor sort of is kind of sustains them with energy, lets them sort of like fly through space and sort of, and like, I think, is it like when like Dirge first turns up in the first arc, he starts like draining Rom's energy kind of from his
I get the fact that they have energy. It was just the Y transfer through face lights.
Well,
it was just the specific how I didn't entirely. It's like
there's no narrative reason why Rom should need, like, from a real world perspective, as you're writing this, Rom doesn't. There's nothing that really means Rom needs to open his faceplate to transfer this life energy. It's just like you say, it's just really kind of confusing more than anything. I just don't get it why this has happened.
And again, I mean, this is my problem as a longtime fan, but it just was like this is counter to the whole kind of crux of his story, that I just didn't. And honestly, just the fact that this is being written by Chris Ryall and Christos Gage, two longtime hardcore Rom fans, like, who have spoken about their love of Rom in numerous occasions, this seems like a weird decision from that. But anyways, you know what? Let's move on from talking about that, and let's talk about one of the continuing subplots in this book. We finally get to see more of Darby and Camilla, aside from like one page, which we got last time, dedicated to Darby. And I do like how they've both kind of got these like weird arm things going on. Like,
I really love, like, it hadn't really occurred to me until this issue, but I do really love the symmetry of, like, Rom's two human friends now, one of them has a Space Knight arm and one of them has a Dire Wraith arm. That's great, I love that.
Yeah, so I really am, like, the fact that this is the penultimate issue does leave me wondering what is the fate of this plot line going to be. Is it going to be picked up in Rom and the Micronauts, or is it going to be picked up in Rom's next solo series? What's going to happen with that? But I look forward to seeing what happens with that.
But I love the sort of like the symmetry of it. That got like a Space Knight arm person and a Dire Wraith arm person. It's cute.
And see, to me, like, one of the key things about Rom's character, is not just his relationship is not just himself and his relationship with his other Space Knights. It's with his human allies. So the human allies are very much important to that in that regard. So that's why I wish we got a bit more of them like interacting with Rom. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I'm getting a little tired of Livia and Orpheon. Although I will say, Livia did not die like I thought she was going to. But I'm getting a little tired of them. I'm looking forward to them like going back into space or whatever. It's like, all right, we've had you guys for a while. Go away, and so we can get back to Rom and the humans, which is what I'm more interested in.
Yeah, because when was the last time Rom actually interacted with Darby and Camilla? It was like at the very... I mean...
Darby, it was Earthfall Part 4.
Yeah.
It was the Camilla, 4th issue.
Camilla, not since she got kind of, like, carted away to hospital.
Let's see. Yeah. So that was... Which was in the middle of It was in the middle / towards the end of Reinforcements.
I feel kind of before the end of that, even. I'd say, like, Part 2 or 3 of that, I'd reckon.
Yeah, like 3. I want to say Part 3 of Reinforcements, so like issue 8, 7. But the thing, he has literally interacted with Darby. Hold on, issue 1, issue 2, issue 3, issue. Yeah, like 4 issues, like. But he's interacted with Camilla more than he has Darby. Like, I don't know. That just seems weird to me. Like, actually thinking about it now, it's weird.
Yeah, no, I do worry that they will end up sidelined during the Micronauts event. Like, my suspicion would be that they probably won't be in the Micronauts mini very much at all, and we'll have to wait until.
Hopefully, it's not like the Rhonda Conway thing where she's like just gets dropped completely. Like, hopefully this, I don't know, something.
Yeah. I don't think, they won't be gone forever, I don't think. But yeah, I suspect they may have to sit out the Micronauts mini just for the sake of kind of managing that number of characters almost.
Yeah.
But I would say the final scene almost of this issue is really fun.
Oh yeah.
Rom and Livia have got energy harpoons, and they're fighting like an exciting variety of underwater Dire Wraiths.
Oh yeah, like we get Dire Wraith mer people, we get Dire Wraith piranhas, we get Dire Wraith octopus, Dire Wraith pirate ship.
There's kind of a shark man one, isn't there? Kind of off on the left side of that big smash.
It's basically King Shark, but a Dire Wraith.
And I love the idea that just the Dire Wraiths have commandeered like an old wrecked ship and of like flying it around underwater. That's just great.
Oh my gosh, dude! Do you think Dire Wraiths are mer people? Like all the legends of mer people are just like we're just inspired by Dire Wraiths. I think it would be so cool.
And because the big
they've got harpoons. They've got laser harpoons to fight them. That's great. I love that.
But yeah, the big one aboard the ship is the same kind of weird big Dire Wraith as they fought in that church, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the same kind. So that's like we're getting to see a whole bunch of different varieties of Dire Wraiths. I'm digging this.
Yeah, no, I do like that they have sort of branched out from the initial, like, because the first arc pretty much just had the sort of the big kind of bulky warrior ones and the sort of like spindlier kind of sorcerer ones. So yeah, it's cool that we're getting kind of an exciting variety of sort of weird Dire Wraith monsters.
Yeah, and Messina's art on the Dire Wraiths like just continues to just be beautiful, like brilliant. That's the thing. I am kind of disappointed he's not. Wait, is he drawing Rom and the Micronauts?
Oh no, yeah, it is Paolo Vianelli.
Yeah, right, it's Paolo.
Yeah, it was on Micronauts. Yeah.
Anything else in regards to the main story?
I mean, yeah, no, I think, but yeah, I am interested to see kind of how it kind of wraps up next issue, like, because I'm guessing like Micronauts 11 was, it's not even going to sort of pretend to be sort of much of a final issue, and it's just going to be like to be continued. But yeah, kind of pretty much be a kind of to be continued kind of like sequel book at the end.
They do say like Rom says, I believe this is the final confrontation of which you spoke. So, kinda, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, Micronauts at least had Wrath of Karza. Micronauts number 11 at least had Wrath of Karza coming in, so.
But yeah, I do wonder what is going to happen, what, if anything, will happen to lead into Rom hanging out on his own again in the first Strike tie-ins.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I do wonder if kind of they'll have their big fight and then it will end with, Livia and Orpheon maybe returning to space or something. I don't know. Yeah, I'm interested to see.
I certainly hope so. Honestly, I like them, but I feel like I'm a little sick of them.
Kind of. They've had their time in the spotlight.
Yeah, and honestly, I'd kind of think they were introduced a little too quickly, but I realize this is not the same as the Marvel series, so yeah. So let's go ahead and talk about Battle Scars Part 3, the backup story that's been running in the book, which sees good old Phi Law get taken over by some sort of sentient planet thing. It's kind of like Ego, but not really.
Yeah, it's like a really kind of gooey sort of Ego.
Yeah, it's like Ego if he mixed with that slime monster from Yu-Gi-Oh. You know the one. But no, honestly, there wasn't much to say with this one. It's a fight between Rom and Phyla. Although I will say this, the art at times got, and I should probably clarify, I've been rereading the Marvel series, so that's why a lot of my brain has been on the Marvel series lately. I noticed that there were quite a few times that when Rom was drawn, he was drawn very similar to, in a very classical style, similar to the Marvel series. I really dug that. I really dig this art. This is great art.
It's still kind of he's got sort of the same kind of panel lines and things as sort of IDW Rom's design, but yeah, it is sort of.
There are times it's just a bit blocky.
The proportions and the angles and stuff like that. Yeah, it's very much a sort of a classic looking Rom.
Yeah, definitely. Outside of that, honestly, it's the artwork continues to be really cool. I like the visuals of this planet, but it's definitely one of those things. This was pretty much just a big fight between Livia, or not Livia, Phyla and Rom. So, yeah. So we'll see how this ends. I will say I'm a bit disappointed that the whole Tales of the Solstar Order has resulted in just a single backup story and not more, more almost see how Rom and Phyla and their partnership. See how Nakomi trained Bhutan or something. More. I really am. I wish this would have. I wish this would have been handled differently, honestly.
Well, yeah, I mean, I assume when kind of this backup story was sort of was originally labelled as sort of Tales of the Solstar Order Battle Scars, I assume at that point they weren't expecting to end it at 14, and then we would have then gone on to an issue 15 to Tales of the Solstar Order something else. But yeah, it's kind of now that it's going to end up just being a single story. But I mean, maybe we'll get kind of this kind of backup feature back, in whatever happens after Rom and the Micronauts. Although the one thing I will say about having these backup strips is that I don't really like that it takes 4 pages away from the main strip.
Agreed. I'm with you there. It's it definitely is a major bummer that this is eating into the page count. So. It's
neat to have a backup story.
Yeah.
But I guess
when it's something extra.
When it's something extra, yeah. But here it's kind of, I guess, unlike First Strike, Rom cannot get the budget for an extra 4-page backup story, and I would say that the main story has suffered at least a bit for it in terms of just the amount of stuff that can happen in each issue.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we're actually over the entire 4-part Long Roads to Ruin storyline. These backup strips are going to put it at, it's going to be down 16 pages compared to what it would have been without backups, which is approaching a full issue, which it's a pity.
Yeah. So. So shall we move on to continue on our roll with Rom? We have Rom versus Transformers Shining Armor number 3, the third part in this crossover, and it continues to just be so good.
This series has not taken a step wrong so far. I would say it's doing its thing, and it's doing its thing really well.
Yes. I really liked I like the fact that Star Drive, finally just okay, stop, and we the and the two sides, were able to sort of talk things out. And I like that actually they explained that the whole idea of factions is odd to the Solstar Order because of the way, like, you know, it very much takes a classical, you know, kind of a Star Trek kind of view of interplanetary travel of, you know, when interplanetary travel is achieved, you know, worlds are united into a single government, you know? And so the Cybertronians, evidently they're unusual in this universe to have interplanetary travel and not have a single world government. And I like that sort of, you know, that the idea of, different factions didn't even occur to the Solstar Order explains why they were all... And of course, you know, then this is also the same world that has the Galactic Council, you know, which, as we know, is just straight up bigots against machines and all that. So I liked how it's like once they did have a conversation, they did decide to align themselves, you know, and sort of get more information. Then it was like, okay, well, we'll work with you to stop these guys, which are allied with Wraiths and all that. So I like that really well.
Yeah, as reasons for the heroes to misunderstand each other and get into a fight at the start of the crossover go, having, the Space Knights just totally not get the idea that you can have space travel but also still be in the middle of a, like, eons-long civil war it's a really good one. It wasn't something kind of like I was expecting it to touch on, and it's a really clever way of sort of doing it all. Yeah. And I like that sort of Star Drive is Star Drive, kind of from the start she has been sort of the bridge between sort of the two franchises, and now she does get to literally bridge the two franchises. She gets to be the one who kind of helps the Autobots and the Space Knights make peace because she can see things from both of their perspectives. And Star Drive's just lovely, isn't she? Like I said this before, but toy now please. Built-in redeco.
Oh my gosh, there's already 2 decos. Like, just give us Star Drive. Give us Star Drive now. Titan, look, Titan's Return, like, I think, and granted, it just probably wouldn't have worked out timeline-wise, but imagine Titan's Return Star Drive with Rom Titan Master.
Oh, yes. So good.
Oh, it would have been so cool. You could even make her a Voyager, like, and do it the triple changer. Oh, so cool. Anyways, maybe I'm asking a bit too much, but anyways, I also really like Sada. I don't know. I've been kind of flipping back and forth on my pronunciation, but seeing her interact with Magnus was really cool. Like Magnus specifically, not just Bumblebee, but like that was and you know, her being all like, you know, sort of coming around on the whole, you know, never thought I'd agree with a Cybertronian, but you're right and all that. And I really like Sada's design. Like, it is just like, it is wicked cool. Such good stuff. Yeah,
it's nice to have kind of a sort of very alien Space Knight who is still armored. So I feel like some of the sort of more alien Space Knights that we've seen in the main Rom series have, like, the kind of ones that are just really not, that really diverge from just being like a kind of human painted a different color kind of body design, have just like Nakomi, who just has a mask, or like Guar, the blob ones, but just has a mask as well. So it's cool to see sort of full Space Knight armor on someone who's got like 4 arms and like digitigrade legs and stuff. Does Sarta just have loads of analyzers? Are those all analyzers?
Yes. But imagine how many neutralizers she must have then. I also really continue to really like the interactions between the Dire Wraiths and Cybertronians, and how Vectral, like, he's not subtle at all. Like this thing, like, Vectral is like, take the Cybertronians! For the good of Wraithkind, we must master these mechanical monsters. And Astrotrain's like, I'm right here, dude. Like, I love their interactions. Like Vectral's just no subtlety, and Starscream is like, I'm not gonna sacrifice my men. It's like, yeah, so.
Yeah, that was kind of that. I liked that kind of contrast between kind of that bit with Starscream and Vectral. Where, yeah, they're talking about kind of their kind of respective attitudes to their sort of their troops.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I really hope this ends with Starscream squishing Vectral, though. Like, step on him.
And just like all the Wraith designs continue to be just really nice in this series. Like Alex Milner's doing just a fantastic job with all the organic stuff in the series. Like before it explodes, shortly into the issue, like the big kind of splash panel with the Transformer Wraith that's got sort of like a giant gaping mouth, but then with like a giant tentacle coming out of that, and just all that sort of,
with like a tongue coming out of the side.
Oh god,
of it.
yeah. I didn't even
notice that. It's horrific, and got like arms.
And actually, and then a bit further in, there's sort of a very nice take on the sort of I was going to say like classic, but yeah, like classic as of the start of the IDW ROM series, kind of like warrior wraiths with kind of the wings and the sort of beige skin and stuff, and like Alex Milne draws very nice Dire Wraiths. This series, if the series has proven anything, it is,
Well, he's also, I think, one of the most he's also one of the artists that I think has drawn ROM like most expressive ROMs that we've seen. He very much, and I said this like back in the first issue, but I want to reiterate it. He very much plays with ROM's mask and sort of, or not mask, but like the little eye slit, and sort of where it actually, sort of in a Batman or more like a Spider-Man or Deadpool kind of like, the way like their mask will like go, like their eyes will go wide or something like that. And sort of playing with sort of the angle of the head to get different different sizes to his eyes and different angles. Like it's, it gives ROM he's one of the most expressive artists I've seen draw ROM. And ROM is not a hard character to draw, but to draw well in that regard, like, really shows off Milne's talent. It's like spot on.
Yeah, kind of ROM is very much kind of like school of kind of whirl facial expressions in this series, kind of using kind of the shape of the kind of aperture and then the shape of the lit up bit to kind of do eyebrows and eyelids and but while still keeping ROM on model and not massively contorting his mask like it is just like I don't know, like a Transformer can contort their metal face. It's still kind of it's all subtle still, but you still very much get the kind of, oh yes, that's a surprised ROM, or that's kind of a quizzical ROM, well that's a kind of an unimpressed ROM kind of thing.
Yeah. And I really like Magnus's interactions with Bumblebee. Like Bumblebee is like, but Magnus, we have to help, and Magnus is like, you shouldn't trade technology, trading in sympathy. And then of course that badass line that Magnus delivers at the end is like, I got this. Come at me, Wraiths. There's a few articles of the Tyrest Court I want to explain to you. Great Magnus, honestly, like, this guy isn't Minimus, fine, but I'm actually now a little disappointed because I like this Magnus a lot, and I wish he could stick around.
Well, actually, I've just noticed my favourite ROM face in the issue, which is when him and Stardrive and Livia are flying towards the crater, and Livia's going on, but we've all suffered incalculable losses. Preventing more at any cost is the duty of a knight. And then ROM's just like completely unimpressed reaction to that. It's about kind of like partway through the issue. Bottom of the page.
Yeah. Yeah, I see the one. Yeah. I should like turn that into a reaction image, like. Yeah. Yeah.
And I wasn't quite expecting a sort of cliffhanger of sorts in this issue, which is that Star Drive is willing to give Starscream the energon synthesizer in order to save the planet, which that's a nice way of sort of give. I don't know. It's a nice way of kind of like keeping kind of Star Drive at the heart of it.
Yeah.
But like and still being kind of her own kind of agent in this, because she's not going along with the Autobots entirely, who want to keep the synthesizer away from the Decepticons, but they also want to save the people of the planet. But Star Drive's like, no, saving the people is more important at any cost, and is willing to hand over the synthesizer. So I like that sort of Star Drive is sort of, she's being kept at the kind of the center of the conflict, and is kind of and hasn't just become like the third Autobot in this series.
Definitely very good. Also, just going back through this issue, I'm reminded just how like this is just one of the most quotable issues I think we've ever discussed, because like even Starscream on the last page has one. Now, let's not do anything hasty. Put away your blastalizer down, and let's talk like a sensible 30-foot-tall mechanical killing machines. Just brilliant dialogue.
It's a treat having Starscream being kind of a full-blown villain, because we haven't gotten that for a while, and it's fun having him just kind of like because modern Starscream is still kind of Starscream, but having him be sort of like unabashedly evil is fun.
Yeah. And one thing that I've noticed about this issue is I have seen a lot of people actually like, this series is really turning around a lot of people. I've seen in discussions of this issue, a lot of people are sort of turning around on the whole shared universe thing and the crossover thing, and which I'm glad. Like this is the kind of thing that at least like over at TFW, one of the most notorious crossover bad places, I've seen a lot of people who are now asking where do I start with Rom? It's like, and I'm like, and as a Rom fan, of course, like who wants everybody to love Rom as much as I do, that makes me happy.
Yeah.
And it's just it's exciting to see. So I'm really glad this series is doing well, and I cannot wait for the next issue.
No, because that's a 5-issue mini, isn't it?
Yeah. So we get 2 more issues.
That's the halfway point. And as with everything in general, I am excited to see where this goes next. But sort of, this series has just been consistently, so consistently, sort of, not putting a foot wrong. But I'm very excited for it to, keep going.
Yes. And so, I think that leads us into our final issue for this week. Revolutionaries number 8.
It's the end, but sort of, one cries.
This is the end.
Sort of be happy because it happened.
Well, this is the end, beautiful friends. After more than 8 issues, this is Revolutionaries' final story. Well, not final story. They do have one more in First Strike, but it's...
And it's only ending 2 months late. I mean, if Revolutionaries had been on time, it would have finished 2 months ago. So we should be happy with it so consistently late.
Yeah. True. This issue pretty much was Colton focused in a lot of ways. Let me see. I'm trying to pull it up.
In the way that kind of pretty much each issue of this series has been sort of the Revolutionaries and someone versus someone. This issue is the Revolutionaries and Optimus Prime versus Joe Colton.
It's sort of filling in the it's sort of filling in the gaps for Colton as Ironblood and sort of the history behind that. So we get to see a young Joe Colton when he's like first learns of Sergeant Savage, and it's like, and Sergeant Savage becomes his hero. We get to see Colton and Scarlet reacting to the destruction from All Hail Megatron. We get to see him, getting replaced by a Dire Wraith which leads into Revolution. And of course, we see him meeting up with several of his allies, including General Krieger and Iron Claw and all that. Although I will say that the timeline is very confusing on this.
Yeah, should we address that now? In that it's become clear this issue that John Barber has been writing his stuff as if Joe Colton got attacked by wraiths and escaped and lost his hand and they replaced him and everything. So he has been writing as if that happened to Colton around the start of All Hail Optimus, because in the flashbacks at the start of this issue, he sort of gets back, he kind of finds his way back to civilization and finds some local youths watching Optimus's big speech from the start of All Hail Optimus. Well, actually, no, technically, was that speech technically at the end?
It's at the end of Conquerors. Yeah.
But yeah, he finds them watching that big speech on the news on their phone, and then heads off to meet up with Krieger. Whereas Margaret Scott and David Rodriguez, for all their First Strike stuff, have been writing as if Colton got Dire Wraith after all that happened. Based on First Strike Zero, they're writing it as if he got Dire Wraith sometime between Revolution Zero, when he sometime between Titan's Return, when he was supervising the capture of Blitzwing, and Revolution Zero, when Blitzwing got given away to Miles Mayhem, because he's like, oh, that's what happened to Blitzwing. So yeah, clearly that's suggesting he was there for him getting captured. So and it's kind of a bit irreconcilable, which is irritating.
Yeah, it's a little confusing, but yeah.
I'm inclined to sort of go with John Barber's version.
Oh yeah.
Just because it causes less problems with other stuff. Like if Colton was replaced by a Wraith at the start of All Hail Optimus, that gets rid of that problem with Rom Revolution not really making sense, for instance.
Yeah.
Because that gives just a bigger span of time over which a Dire Wraith was impersonating Colton.
Yeah.
And I mean, meanwhile, like all of the kind of First Strike stuff, it's basically you'd have to ignore like a couple of lines of dialogue if you go with John Barber's version. So yeah, I am inclined to go with the version that has Colton a Wraith earlier, just because I think it causes less problems with other stuff, I would say.
Yeah, it definitely does. So this issue is like it's a bit of a madhouse as far as like what goes, because so much happens in this issue, and I'm glad it's double length, because like
it's not quite double, is it? Well, the story pages is like 8 extra, I think, isn't it? It's 28.
Yeah, it's.
But then, it has extra backup material as well.
Yeah, it's got extra pages, because I mean, this follows right from off the heels of the last issue, and so the big thing is like G.I. Joe fighting the Red Shadows, and Sergeant Savage fighting Colton, and just like you really like see like just like I don't know, just like the disillusionment. Like Savage is just like, he's so disappointed because he's like, everybody said you followed in my footsteps, and then he's like, and that interaction, and of course we get to see Savage just friggin' like just beating on Colton, which is such a good because Colton's kind of like, I kind of hate Colton, honestly, in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Like it's like, yes, punch him, Sergeant Savage. Yeah.
Oh no, yeah, I would say that that page of Sergeant Savage kind of denouncing Joe Colton, that's probably my favourite page in this issue. It's so good.
Yeah, and you pointed this out on Twitter. It's like here we see a World War II veteran just beating down on a bigoted white baby boomer wearing reappropriated German iconography.
Yeah.
This is what superhero comics are all about, people. I love it.
Like, Sergeant Savage is just unabashedly Captain America at this point, and like proper sort of like kind of moral good.
I didn't fight through World War II to
yeah.
let you decide who deserves to be called a person.
But yeah, like kind of the line before that, like I particularly like, they're people, Colton, metal, sure, but my fight was never about what's different between us. I fight for what's the same. That's I'm
really disappointed that Savage isn't in First Strike. Actually, like I want to see more of him. That's the thing. Like, where does Savage go after this? Like, I was honestly really worried that Savage was going to die in this issue, and I'm so glad I was wrong.
Well, yeah, I thought he did. Like, after he gets shot in this issue, I was like, oh, he's dead. Damn. But no, yeah, he's fine, and I'm happy about that. Like, I think you could put Sergeant Savage in Optimus Prime. I think, like, you could just have him join the G.I. Joe team that liaises.
Yes, we need that. Honestly, we need more Sergeant Savage. We also get to see some more interaction with Mercy. That's her name, Mercy, and Ian, which is great because, especially after like the first 2 issues of this series, it's good to see them sort of getting to have their fight again.
It was nice that those two but her and Action Man got to have a little little showdown. They kind of the Action Man and the Action Man villain got to have their little bit in this because, especially with this series essentially being kind of the sequel to the Action Man mini. Yeah, it was nice that they got sort of some dedicated time.
Yeah, and I also really liked what Blackrock, like the stuff we got to see with Blackrock in this issue.
Oh yeah, well, from infraspace, from like escalation, I wasn't expecting that.
Oh no, I mean that's the thing. I had forgotten all about infraspace as I'd forgotten that was a thing, that was introduced until I I was like, oh yeah, that was in escalation.
But yeah, I was just say it's a really good example of the way that John Barber uses a big expansive continuity, but kind of he uses that as a resource for telling stories.
Yeah,
it's not kind of infraspace kind of. It's not just a sort of look, we brought that back. It is used in a way that sort of makes sense of the story. It is the continuity is being used as a resource to tell new stories. And I very much like that.
Yeah, and it makes sense for Onyx Prime to be able to either access infraspace or to be in infraspace or wherever, because his whole thing in the Covenant of Primus that he was his triptych mask was could do he could go into realms beyond and all that. Wasn't that kind of his thing?
Yeah, no, kind of, and I mean, especially with the last time we saw infraspace, sort of Nova Prime was sort of peering out of it peering through it from kind of the Dead universe. It kind of it all makes very natural sense as a part of the story, which it's the best way of using a big continuity rather than just look at that thing. You remember that thing? There is an actual point to the use of infraspace, which is what makes it a good use of continuity.
And in infraspace, we also see Mike freaking Power, which I was not expecting. Honestly, I was I knew he had to come back in some way because he was on that cover of Optimus Prime First Strike, but I wasn't expecting him to be come back as Mighty Mikey and save Onyx and save Garrison Blackrock from Onyx Prime. That's a great moment. You just see this little kid just punching Onyx Prime. Great panel. I love it.
Yeah, it was because I mean he got a bit of a sort of like putting right what he kind of put wrong moment at the end of his kind of issue in 6. But yeah, I did like that he got sort of a moment in the spotlight to come back and and help put things right. It was nice. And then and then it goes on to get both Mike Powers and Centurion's kind of character journeys end in them becoming a new being. It's the old sort of I'm trying to think of other examples of that happening in fiction, but it's a thing. The sort of the two characters kind of become someone new that's kind of both of them and neither of them. And
I'm trying to think of an example now too. You ever watch the 4th season of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX?
I can't say I have, no.
Kind of reminds me of that.
Unlike in Age of Ultron, like kind of movie vision is sort of he's not quite Jarvis, but he is also Jarvis, and
he's not quite Ultron, but he's also part Ultron, yeah.
But I wasn't expecting it at all, but it certainly makes that cover for the first Strike one shot make a lot more sense.
It does, yeah. Like that's saying, and it's sort of like and that's saying, and we get to see I'm really glad they kept those word balloons, the design from from Hearts of Steel for Centurion's dialogue, because it's like Centurion, what are you doing? What I should have done from the beginning, protecting people. And then, of course, when Mike Power, he's like, he's got the regular circular speech bubbles. And then he's like, so it's like apparently they've merged into a single being, which I think technically makes Mike Power an Autobot now. Is that what that does? I also really like how... I think this is the first time we've seen a Titan Master actually do something revolving around a Titan.
BlackRock BlackRock got used in the More Than Meets the Eye part of.
Yes. Okay, you're right.
Yeah. Got hooked up to a module. But kind of it's the first time it's kind of been acknowledged since BlackRock has been kind of back to being BlackRock, and kind of. Yeah, I wasn't expecting that at all. But they're showtime the time. It makes massive sense in plain sight.
Yeah, he basically is like he summons, and that's the thing, and sort of BlackRock's like I'm not like I'm trying to find the line. I'm not just a Cybertronian. I'm a Titan Master. It's like Titan Masters are supposed to be vaguely unique and powerful things, and so it's like I'm glad we're acknowledging that. And I wouldn't mind, I know Titan's Return is over, but I really wouldn't mind seeing the Titan Masters as a concept come up again in future fiction from IDW.
Well, I mean, with the way that kind of IDW sort of established them as being heralds of kind of specific primes, kind of, it does feel like it would be a sort of a natural fit to sort of bring more in, as and when sort of you're doing more stuff with the primes. It's been a popular suggestion, hasn't it? And I think I'm sure I kind of suggested it at one point. I'm sure I've seen other people doing it, but introduce Cogman as Vector Prime's Titan Master.
Yes, I love Cogman. Yeah, definitely that. I mean, I think it would be cool to see some of those other toy only, toy original. Titan Masters Blunderbuss or something like that. I think it would be cool to see some of those guys. So Metro Titan shows up and brings Optimus Prime, so we can have Optimus Prime versus G.I. Joe, which did that, versus the original G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
Let's see. Also, I'd like to point out that this issue has the second ever group shot of the Revolutionaries.
Oh, yeah. I like that we did it kind of end on that. Well, not quite end. But... But yeah,
yeah.
Win.
But yeah, it's the fact that it's like, and the fact that it's like next time we do better. So it's like, yeah, they're gonna stick around. They're gonna be a team. But seriously, 8 issues in, second ever panel to have them all in the same, like, in the same space.
Oh, well, technically they're all visible in the panel at the bottom of the previous page. Just most of them are very small.
Okay, fair enough. Third ever panel.
And I mean, pretty much the first, like, actual sort of, like, heroic group shot of them.
The only heroic group shot. Like, because before this issue was issue 6. I know this because I was going through issues looking for a group shot for their page, and the only one was just like when BlackRock and Cup were recovering from getting knocked out at the end of issue 6. Like, this is the first time they've had a straight. Hell, I think it's the first time that they've all been on a single, like, together on a cover. Like,
yeah, there's not even been that many covers. Yeah,
so I just find that a little, like, when you stop and think about it, it's a little odd. But yeah, so also Miles Mayhem shows up at the end of this issue to be like, hey guys, I'm a part of this team too. But yeah, let's see, I'm trying to think if there's anything specific else I wanted to say.
I mean, I wouldn't say that this was kind of like the best issue of Revolutionaries in that
I wouldn't say
had
that
to
either.
spend sort of time being an ending, but it was a very satisfying ending. Like,
oh yeah,
there wasn't anything that left me feeling kind of like, oh, I wish that had gone down differently, or sort of, oh, I wish I had gotten kind of closure on that. Like, I wasn't even expecting. I was really surprised when we got sort of follow up on the fact that the Joes had inadvertently killed some of the civilians back in the first issue. I was like, oh wow, yeah, we're acknowledging that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was definitely. I'm glad that they did, and that sort of, and it's definitely like for Ian is like one of those moments is like where he's like, he has that moment of, couldn't save everybody, and then Mayday has to say, that just means that we're gonna, it just means we're gonna do better next time, and we're gonna keep on being a team and keep on doing stuff. So hopefully, the Revolutionaries will either get another series, or they'll get to show up as guest stars in other series. I mean, that's the thing. I totally wouldn't mind if they then just become like frequent guest stars. Like, hey, we're gonna they're gonna show up for an issue in Optimus Prime and help Optimus do something, or they're gonna show up in G.I. Joe, or help Scarlet Strike Force or something, that kind of thing.
I kind of like the idea of kind of like the Revolutionaries becoming kind of like, the Hasbro Universe's like A team. It's like, if you need them, like the Revolutionaries will be there.
Yeah, I'll tell you after we're done recording. I'll tell you my pitch for a Revolutionary series. Yeah. So I want to briefly go over the Easter egg pages, just because I think it's like John knows who his audience is. The fact that he included like 8 pages of explaining Easter eggs for every series, some which I had noticed and some which I actually hadn't. So like, I'm not gonna go through everything. I'm just gonna touch on a few of them. First off, the fact that like the Kai-Alita thing, Cup mentions Kai-Alita in issue 1, which I honestly just kind of skipped over, didn't think about but I find it suspect that it's mentioned here when in the last issue of Lost Light we got that big comeback of the Magnificents, and so it's like, is that an intentional thing or coincidence?
Well, yeah, like I was also I was thinking about this the other day, and I was also thinking we never got sort of any follow up on the sort of mysterious way in which the Predacons actually managed to turn themselves into a combiner, because I think Krieger mentions like an ancient artifact doing it, but from the way they're talked about in that issue, it seems like it wasn't the Enigma of Combination. It couldn't have been the Enigma of Combination. I don't know, like if the Magnificents got out into the universe at some point in the past, did Razorclaw have the Magnificents at some point and ask it, how do we turn ourselves into a combiner? I don't know. I wonder.
Yeah. So yeah, we there's just a chalk ton in issue 3, which I actually hadn't realized that Marsh was a character from a thing, from an old like an issue of G.I. Joe. But this does confirm that the Visionaries thing was totally intentional.
Yeah.
So yeah. Although it did remind me that apparently, do you remember back when Revolutionaries was first announced and it was going to have the Sergeant Savage comics by Joe Kubert reprinted?
Well, that did happen, I think. One specific cover of the first issue had it kind of as a sort of stapled into the middle thing, I think.
Really?
I never really could find much details about it, but yeah, it was with one specific subscription cover for the first issue. Had a kind of bound in. But yeah, I couldn't find pictures of it or anything, but my understanding is that's what happened. It was one specific subcover had that.
Man, had I known that, I just assumed it never happened. Wow. I'll have to talk to John about that. You know, whenever we get him on the show. Hint, hint. Let's see. Oh, I do like how these Easter eggs also confirm that Domitius Major was not the Iceman in the Project Iceman thing.
Yeah.
Because some people think that it was referring to Domitius Major. That's not the case. So TF Wiki, get your facts straight. Because no, it was Atomic Man who was the Iceman. Yeah. Let's see. Of course, issue 5 was all the Hearts of Steel stuff. Yeah. Oh, I want to point out issue 6. Mighty Mikey Powers' best friend, Smarts, is the ancestor of Lucky from the 2010's Pound Puppies cartoon. The use of the word ancestor is very suspect there for me. Because is that implying that in this world that dogs are like sentient? Are they having the talking dog conversations?
Perhaps.
Buster talks. So Buster talks in this universe. Confirmed.
Yeah, I can accept that. Yeah, Buster can have conversations with other dogs. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Buster comes from the Pound Puppies pound. Headcanon. Boom. That's trying to think. Callum, were there any Easter eggs that you wanted to point out or discuss?
There's none that spring to mind, I don't think. I think a lot of them I could have had been aware of, whether either by noticing it or having other people tell me. But yeah, it was interesting to have it confirmed. I'd kind of suspected it was the case, but that art of the talisman from that kind of page at the start of issue 6 was kind of the original design art done, kind of like real universe design art done for it, which I assumed that was probably the case. It's interesting to have that confirmed.
Yeah.
Actually, here we go. I've just found a picture. It was that Sergeant Savage reprint wasn't bound in. It was subcover A. Literally came with it, came in a plastic bag with the reprint. I've just sent you a link in the Skype chat.
Man. I mean, you realize you're also now tempting me to buy this, right?
I wouldn't buy this one. I wouldn't buy this one because it's located in Stockport, United Kingdom. But yeah.
Oh, so you want to buy it, I see. But no. Yeah. Interesting. I mean, admittedly, you can read these for free, like on yojo.com.
Oh, huh. I was not aware of that.
Yeah. I mean, it's actually, it's pretty simple, like, little thing. It's just like a short story of the Screaming Eagles fighting General Blitz. But it's still, I mean, it's Joe Kubert art. It's great.
Mm.
I really do like that about the Sergeant Savage toys, and like all the art for those toys, like box art and profile pictures and all that was done by Joe Kubert, and it is great, beautiful stuff. Yeah, so yeah, I mean that's pretty much it.
Yeah, one thing I do want to say before we finish talking about issue 8 is just that kind of the art continues to be just really good in this book. Like the Ron Joseph stuff on the first few pages. I noticed that unlike most issues, the Ron Joseph stuff had a different colorist this issue. David Garcia Cruz, who's done sort of like a variety of things for IDW recently, I think, did it instead of Sebastian Cheng, who's just normally done everything.
Yeah, I feel like I prefer the Cheng.
Yeah,
colors.
No, I was gonna say I think kind of the Cheng colors with the sort of like less gradient and more sort of like not two-tone, but sort of like the sort of. Well, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. Not sure quite how to describe the Sebastian Cheng colors, but they have a sort of specific look to them.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like the art in this issue continues to just be of a really high standard, as it has been throughout the series. Like especially kind of the bulk of the issue, but just like Fico Ossio doing great work this issue. Like kind of,
I feel
you can definitely see as well that the kind of like his robots have gotten better since the start of since Revolution issue 1. Like he does great robots now, and like he has always done really great humans, and especially facial expressions.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Like I feel, a lot of people I do remember were ragging on his robots, and I'll admit, they could look weird at times, especially Windblade in Revolution, but yeah, his art is definitely, and I think it's just one of those things, just more more practice drawing the Transformers has improved that. And that's the thing, and he's really his everything he draws just down to the infraspace, just the void surrounded with random polygons, just he's a very versatile artist, and he can draw great robots, he could draw great, he draws really good action, the dynamic he's brought to characters like Storm Shadow and the Red Shadows, or Sergeant Savage, Krieger, all just great. The art is really continues to just be phenomenal, and I'm really, that's what's really making me really excited to see what he does with the Visionaries. Yeah,
just obviously it plays to his sort of strengths because he designed those new designs, I guess, but kind of I feel like all the sort of swords and sorcery kind of visionary stuff will kind of look very nice in Fico Ossio's art style.
Yeah, so shall we take a look back?
Yeah.
So this, of course, does bring us to the end of Revolutionaries, a series that we have covered most of. I want to say our first episode we covered issue 4. Is that it?
Yeah.
Yes, because we made an iron pun in the title of our first episode. I remember that, yeah. So, Callum, when when Revolutionaries was first announced, did you expect this to become I think it's easy. I think I speak for both of us when I say this is our favorite title, that has been out. Did you expect this to become your new favorite title?
Absolutely. Like, seriously, from because I forget when did Revolutionaries get announced? Was sort of Revolutions maybe
August or September? It was like shortly before it was after the universe had been established, but it was before the event itself had actually happened, I believe.
Okay. But no, yeah, I do remember sort of from when we got that original article and somewhere announcing it. Actually, here we go. I found it was announced on the 1st of September 2016, which now let me get up the wiki. When was Revolution being published? So Revolutionaries was announced. Come on, load. It was announced. Just a few weeks before Revolution started. But I kind of when that was first announced, I was like, okay, so what? We've got like a spiritual successor to Action Man, which was like John Barber doing a really fun action comedy, plus kind of teaming up with new characters each month, plus Cup, who was great in XRID, plus kind of a focus on sort of like kind of continuity, sort of fun and foibles, and from the moment it was announced, I was expecting to really like Revolutionaries, and it did not disappoint at all, I'm happy to say.
Yeah, same. I mean, this was, I was like, when this was first announced, I was like, all right, cool. I had been enjoying Action Man. This was before we had seen, of course, him and Cup just have the greatest dynamic ever. And especially all like the tease of getting to see more like with BlackRock and all that, and also the fact that it drew on like the original solicit was said it was gonna the first mission was gonna take place in Calistan, and while that was changed, the fact that it was gonna do like Calistan and touch on Iron Claw and G.I. Joe Extreme. I mean, I didn't realize it was gonna go how far it was gonna go with that 90s references, but I really I was excited for this from day one, and it certainly has not disappointed me at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
because from the original announcement, I knew that this book would combine a bunch of things which I really liked, which was like John Barber action comedy, John Barber continuity stuff, just kind of Action Man, obviously, and kind of having fun with kind of crossovers and stuff.
Yeah,
because I will forgive lots of things just if they have fun with it. You could there's a good example. Thor: The Dark World is not a brilliant film by any means, but it is a really fun film, so I still like it a bunch. So, the notion that it was going to be sort of just a bit of a sort of fun, taking itself less seriously than the sort of main Transformers titles. That was always a good sign, and they delivered on that.
Yeah. It was, Revolutionaries has, I think its biggest strength has been it sort of being the Hasbro Universe's planetary. I don't know if you've read that series. It was a series from Wildstorm.
No.
Comics. No. Well, it basically followed a similar thing of a group of a group of characters who explored sort of the secret history of the Wildstorm universe, and with very much in the same vein, Revolutionaries was all about exploring the secret history of the Hasbro Universe and revealing that there was all this stuff like that thing, and it did a lot to like link the G.I. Joe and Transformers histories and all that, and sort of establish stuff for the future going through, like the Visionaries and all that. So yeah, and I think that was one of its biggest strengths, and it definitely has served to help flesh out and expand this this universe that we have now.
Well, I mean, it makes it feel like kind of like, I think I made Twitter the Allspark the other day, but kind of it's made this sort of shared Hasbro universe feel like kind of a proper universe of its own that has its own history and its own kind of flavour, and sort of it's enriched this kind of universe and made it something more than just just a kind of generic, non-specific, real-world setting that the stories are happening in. It makes it kind of feel like kind of a proper comic book universe, almost having all this sort of this grand history of like Sergeant Savage fighting in the Second World War, and like the adventure team being active during the 80s. It's given everything kind of like a history and a kind of a weight behind it. That's kind of, it's really fun. And then the whole kind of secret history angle making for a sort of a myth. Like, it's not sort of like, you wouldn't say that just, oh yes, it's a mystery book, but sort of it introduces a nice sort of mystery element.
Yeah, it has an overarching, a through line. Yeah.
Yeah.
That that's the thing. It has a through line plot of, revolutionaries, like seeking out these villains to fix the thing from issue 1, and through that it uses that to explore the adventure team, Atomic Man, Krieger, the Screaming Eagles, the early days of Transformers, all that stuff. So, Callum, if you had to pick out one issue of the main Revolutionary series that was your favorite, what would that be? What would you say is your favorite issue of all the issues?
I would probably have to pick issue 5, because I don't know, I think like one of my favourite things, one of my favourite sort of aspects of Revolutionaries has been that sort of it's been kind of unafraid to sort of be a bit experimental and do stuff that would be too weird to basically to put in, like, too weird for, say, like John Barber to put in an issue of Optimus Prime. And so stuff like taking an unrelated comic series and folding it into continuity in issue 5, and doing a sort of mixed medium comic issue in issue 6, doing sort of like kids' newspaper strips and like a page from a storybook, and using like a real world pre-existing promotional comic. Like, it's that kind of experimental stuff that kind of that I really enjoyed. I'm trying to think, which one was it? Syndromica 2, the time travel issue of Robots in Disguise. Like, that was a pretty, like, John Barber isn't afraid to kind of get weird with things sometimes. And that Syndromica 2 issue with all the sort of time travel stuff with Bludgeon and Optimus, that was kind of, I guess another example of sort of doing a sort of reasonably experimental kind of issue. But so I would say I think 5 is my favourite issue, just because it really kind of sums up what the series was about, which was just like kind of mushing together a bunch of random things and having fun with it. You got like Cobra Commander, but it's actually like Tomax Paoli, and like he's super grumpy about having to dress up as Cobra Commander, just because you got the comedy coming in as well. Oh, actually, that entire issue is full of just slapstick comedy with Action Man getting kind of thrown out windows and smacked around into walls. And then you've got experimental kind of continuity nonsense, like bringing in Hearts of Steel, which Like, I think, yeah, bringing Hearts of Steel into continuity is that's the most audacious thing that Revolutionaries did easily.
Yeah.
And just everyone sort of bouncing off each other, sort of like being a bit goofy, but it's also its own little sort of. It's also kind of a singular kind of episode in its own right. Because yeah, Revolutionaries told a kind of a serialized story, but it was very much kind of an episodic story. Kind of each issue was its own little kind of adventure, almost like in the way that sort of like a TV show, like not like a Netflix TV show, but like a broadcast TV show is. Each kind of installment is its own little thing, and yeah, so yeah, that would be my favorite 5, I think.
See, now I'm like really mad because that was my favorite issue, and now I feel like I'm compelled. No, everything you said is exactly like my thoughts. Issue 5 was like, yeah, it was great. Like with the back and forth story. It's actually one of those things I was then trying to think of which would be my second favorite issue, and I think it comes down to a tie between 3 and 6, both of which are good. I think 5 is the best because it draws the line between being about the Revolutionaries and having their guest star work very well with that other story that it's telling. Issue 6, goes further with that experimental, mixed media thing. It tells just the heartbreaking story of Atomic Man, who's a great character, and just his backstory is very, was very, very much gets you. But at the same time, the inclusion of Mask felt really tacked on, and the fact that half the team was just kind of like shut down, all that definitely, it suffered from too many characters that they had to take some away. Issue 3 was also a great issue, but it was a great issue that wasn't really about the Revolutionaries, so it lost points for that. But it's I think is proof of concept of why we need an adventure team book, because holy crap, the adventure team is awesome and I love them. And yeah, but yeah, issue 5 is easily probably my favorite. I mean,
it's a good issue, and it's also sort of a microcosm of what the series was about as a whole, is what I'd say.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what would you say is your least favorite issue then in this case?
I mean, it's really hard to pick. Like, God.
I mean, yeah, there really hasn't been a bad issue.
Well, yeah, there are no weak issues, so it's just it would be a case of picking the least good issue. Just the least interesting. Yeah. And like, because I mean, I think 6 is the issue where kind of, with Mask, it was sort of you were kind of most conscious of, okay, yeah, these characters are kind of being shoehorned into the story, but also 6 had the really great kind of mixed medium thing, so like I couldn't say at all that was sort of the worst issue by any means. I don't know.
I would dare say that 4 for me is probably like the least good, like the least interesting. Even though it has Ironclaw, who is one of my favorite villains, I'd still say that just because Predaking was kind of, it was kind of just like there and then not.
See, actually, now you say that, I didn't really mind how Predaking was used in that issue. Like, honestly, I care very little about Predaking. Like, Predaking could have gone down even easier in that issue, and I wouldn't have cared. But now you say that, one thing that I do remember out of 4 is that issue 4 probably gets, like, it indulges the most in let's just sit down and talk about, like, let's sit down and, like, explain some continuity stuff that we wanted to explain. Like, it's the closest to getting to sort of, like, Transformers Legends, Hayato Sakamoto, like, just interlude where character explains the history of something whilst tying up some loose ends conveniently. Like, you've got a few pages where it's just like, say, Cup talking about the Predacons, or Mayday talking about the history of, like, Khalistan and G.I. Joe, and, like, then tying up the loose ends from the terrible, terrible Karen Travis G.I. Joe series.
Yeah.
You'll have so much fun with it. Like, it's great. You'll love it. That kind of... I think that issue got kind of the furthest into sort of continuity for its own sake, rather than continuity as sort of a properly integrated part of the story. But again, like, you can't call it a bad issue. It's just like a less good issue.
Yeah, it's definitely, yeah. I mean, the action is great. I'm honestly, I'm a sucker for any time Iron Claw shows up. So, you know, like, I was hooked immediately. And I really want to see that character come back. Like, oh my god, he would make such a good villain for Optimus Prime. Holy crap! Like, if he is somehow, like, if he's been studying Cybertronians and able to take control of some, instant setup for an Optimus Prime issue right there.
Well, yeah, he's also kind of because wait, no. Does Iron Claw actually rule Khalistan? I forget. Is he, like, the ruler of the country?
Count Von Ronny, at least.
Oh, no, yeah. He is the ruler of Khalistan.
Yeah.
And so being the leader of a country would also be, that would be your way into Optimus Prime, because Optimus Prime is dealing with world government. Isn't it?
Oh, my God. I would still, like, I still want to know if people know if Iron Claw, like, do they know Count Von Ronny is Iron Claw? Like, is it like a Doctor Doom thing where, like, he has no secret identity, or does he have, like, a public, like, Count Von Ronny, and then, like, when he's at home or, like, meeting with other supervillains, he's all like, yeah, I'm gonna put on my mask and my claw and my beret and all that. It's like, or will, like, would he walk into the United Nations in full Iron Claw gear? I would love to see that, honestly.
I don't know. I had been assuming that it was basically Doctor Doom. Like, in the same way that a lot of characters in this series have been sort of, kind of been pretty much deliberately set up as parallels to Marvel characters. Like Sergeant Savage is Captain America. I had been taking it that Iron Claw basically is Doctor Doom. Yeah, he is just. It's a fictional Eastern European country ruled by a supervillain.
Yeah. See, though now I'm just like... Although, you know what this now gets me thinking about? Have you seen that, the fact that I'm asking if you've seen this, like, of course you've seen this, is probably, like, racist against British people. But, like, have you seen that Mitchell and Webb sketch with the Nazis? And they're like,
yes.
You seen, our caps have skulls on them. Why skulls? That is a great sketch. That is a great sketch. I'd say issue 4 is probably is the weakest, but, like, it's not a bad issue. It's, like, just, like, by minor things, it's just, like, it's probably the weakest, but it's still a great issue. Like, still a great, because this is a great series. I really hope the Revolutionaries get another shot, either, like, at their own series. This is definitely, I mean, it's been one of my favorites. Centurion quickly became my new favorite, like, one of my new favorite characters, as anyone who's seen my Twitter page knows. But yeah, so I will say this, though, like, honestly, my biggest disappointment about this series was just the Iron Blood reveal. But
it is such a shame that it worked out like that.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, because when Baron Ironblood was first, like, introduced, you know, and all that, and we had that mention of him back in Action Man, you know, it's like I wanted to see I wanted to see like him just be a new villain, you know, like with the whole Robo Skulls and everything, you know. I think that would have been cool. But what I do hope happens after First Strike, though, I would not mind seeing a new person take up the mantle of Baron Ironblood. So that way we could have like Joe Colton, and then and that's the thing, and because if Baron Ironblood's just a disguise, then anyone could take up the mantle of Baron Ironblood. We can continue to have a guy who named Baron Ironblood, and maybe he has the more traditional Red Shadow foot soldiers and Robo Skulls and all that. So yeah.
No, yeah, I hadn't thought of that, but yeah, that would be a good way of kind of keeping that identity around.
Yeah. But I think overall, Revolutionaries was a great series, and I think that brings us to the end of this episode.
Yeah, but yeah, we do get well, for the time being, one last outing with them in their First Strike 2-parter.
Yes, which hopefully, like I've said, will not be the last we see of them, and
and featuring Colditz from Action Man as well. Like I'm sure we've talked about this podcast when it was announced, but yeah, Colditz is back.
Yes, yeah, good old Colditz.
Good job Ian didn't accidentally kill him, like he thought he had.
Yeah, I like Colditz. I mean, he barely got any characterization, but like, he's still cool,
Yeah, like what we saw of him, he was cool.
Yeah, just the fact that it's an Action Man character. Honestly, I wouldn't even mind if we get another Action Man series if we don't get a Revolutionary series. But, anyways, So yeah, I guess anything else to say?
No, yeah, I think kind of it wraps it up. But oh gosh, actually, I'm looking at the current list of upcoming comics, and I am wondering whether we can actually fit this into one episode. Because as I'm looking at it, well, yeah, there is nothing out next week. We're recording this a week early, so yeah, the second week this podcast accounts for has nothing in it. And then the next 2 weeks, at least when I last wrote this down, is First Strike number 5, G.I. Joe number 9, Mask number 10, Optimus Prime 11, Lost Light number 10, Optimus Prime First Strike, Rom First Strike, The Misfits Infinite number 3, and Rom vs. Transformers 4. Which is quite a lot of books.
See, that is not what I have for my count. For my count for October the 11th, for the week of October 11th, I have just First Strike number 5, G.I. Joe number 9, Mask number 10, and Optimus Prime number 11.
Oh, well, no, yeah, sorry, that was both the 11th and the 18th I was talking about.
Yeah, in which case, yeah, we've got Misfits Infinite 3, Optimus Prime First Strike, Rom First Strike, Shiny Armor number 4, and Lost Light number 10.
Which, yeah, that's a busy fortnight.
Yeah.
Unless might have to split that somehow.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, we did what? We did 6 comics, and some of these will probably be inaccurate by the time this episode actually does come out, so we'll see. But yeah, so thank you so much for listening. This has been Action and Adventure, the Hasbro Universe podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to leave us a review on iTunes. That is one of the best ways you can help us out as a fledgling podcast, as still growing. If you like the show, you could also share it with your friends, and that would get the word out. If you want to listen to more episodes, you can do so over at allspark.com, our fabulous host. You could also find more at our Libsyn page on YouTube, iTunes, and Google Play. And if you want to continue to follow the show, you can follow our Twitter, where we post previews of all the Hasbro Universe titles, as well as random trivia from time to time. You can follow that at Hasbro U Podcast. You can also find us on Tumblr at HasbroUniversePodcast.tumblr.com. And of course you can follow me at Daniel Adkins PRD on Twitter, or at DanielAdkinsBlog.tumblr.com. I'm also a frequent poster on Allspark.com's forums, and an editor for TF-Wiki and IDW Hasbro, and the IDW Hasbro Wiki. Callum, where can the people find more of you on the internet?
Well, yeah, I can be found in pretty much all of those same places, and all under the name Jala Guy, Jala Guy.
See, he has a cool screen name.
Well, I mean, cool. I mean, yeah, like
Bionicles are cool, Callum. Okay, Bionicle is cool.
I think I came up with that in 2003 when I joined BZ Power. Yeah.
2003. That is It's 14 years ago, my friend.
Yeah, that has been my screen name
Jesus.
for 14 years.
See, I honestly outgrew my screen name, because as you know on TFW, it was Danny Boy. I kind of grew out of that after a while. But yeah, so thank you so much for listening. Take care, everybody.
See ya!
And remember, be revolutionary.
Far, far away, in another galaxy, the Knights of the Solstar Order, defenders of justice and truth, have been ambushed by the evil magicians, the Dire Wraiths. The Solstar Order has prevailed, and are now seeking out their scattered enemies. One of these knights has followed the trail of the Dire Wraiths all the way to Earth. This one the Dire Wraiths fear more than all others. This one has hounded them and kept them underground for centuries. This one alone could wipe them off the face of creation. He is Rom, Lord of the Solstar Order. Rom the Wraith Slayer. Rom the Space Knight. Even he must be careful. The Dire Wraiths can assume any form they wish. Rom counters this with the energy analyzer. With it, he can see through appearances and determine the true essence of any being. Rom also has a weapon unique to his order, the neutralizer, which can disorganize any molecular structure. He has rocket pods, which can instantly send him soaring. He has a translator through which he can communicate with any intelligent being in the universe. And his respirator allows him to breathe in any atmosphere. Rom, Lord of the Solstar Order. Rom the Wraith Slayer. Rom the Space Knight. A microelectronic creation from Parker Brothers.